Let's go there today. Let's talk about sports. Let me ask you a question. Why is it that you are so hell-bent on supporting your team week in and week out? What can we be able to learn from that passion, that commitment, that focus, that single-mindedness that you have in your team, on your team? Every week in and week out, you get beaten this week, you draw the other week, you do pathetic tactics and so on. And you still have fun. You don't ditch them, you don't dump them, you don't go away and do other things. You still find yourself going back every Saturday, every Sunday, every weekend, and every weekday to support your team. Today, I want us to talk about how we can be able to learn to have focus in life using the focus that we have in our sports teams. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
It is interesting, isn't it, that you don't find a guy who was supporting, let's say, Arsenal this year has ditched Arsenal and is willingly supporting Chelsea or Man City or any other Premier League team. I'm talking about soccer, I'm talking about football. The same guys that were throwing barbs and laughing at you when your team was suffering and their team was excelling 5 years ago are the same guys who are still supporting that team. I have Manchester United fans who have been throwing sticks at me and have been laughing at me and doing all manner of things, telling me statistics, how Manchester United is the best team in the world, and in terms of finances, in terms of revenue, in terms of hugeness of their stadium, in terms of their culture, in terms of success, in terms of victories and so on. They're the same guys 10 years, 20 years, 15 years down the road. They have never ever changed. Same guys. And it begs me to ask this question. I really wonder, how did people get there? How did people end up having this passionate commitment, this dedication to a team that is in another world? It's in Europe. And they are here in Africa, and because I'm recording this podcast from Africa, they are here in Africa, but they will every single weekend be supporting their team that is in England, that team that is in Europe. And some guys have considered themselves a bit sophisticated and they want to support teams that are in Spain. But nevertheless, you seldom are going to find a guy who was supporting Manchester United changing and is now supporting Manchester City, or supporting Chelsea, or supporting Wigan Athletic, and so on and so forth. They are the same people, the same guys. What makes them to become a fan? What is the journey? What is the interesting story behind the story that someone ends up supporting a team like Chelsea? I've always wondered, how would you end up supporting Chelsea in the first place? Chelsea was a non-existent team before it was bought by a Russian billionaire who started buying trophies. Listen, that was not a football team, so to speak. And I wonder why some guys find themselves comfortable supporting Chelsea week in and week out, and they are so thorough, they are so committed, they are so, some of them can even cry when Chelsea is beaten up, when Chelsea loses. And of course the opposite is true. When Chelsea wins, they are all over your face on Facebook and so on, painting their beds blue. I've always wondered why, and there are actually, these stories are there and they have happened, why people will commit suicide when Arsenal loses, or Manchester United loses. I've always wondered why someone will trade his wife when Manchester United is beaten. Someone bets his wife and his house when Manchester United is beaten. Those ones are sideshows, but I'm telling you, at the end of the day, there is a core message that we can be able to learn from all this, and we need to give people kudos. I mean, we need to congratulate people for staying focused. We need to congratulate people for staying committed, year in, year out. Come rain, come shine, they're supporting their teams. But we should be able to learn something from it. And before we can learn something from it, let me take some time and just inform you, just give you a background. How in the world have I failed to ditch Arsenal? How in the world did I become an Arsenal supporter in the first place? Of course, when we're growing up, we're always going to be talking about sports and so on. During our days, we didn't grow up with TV. During our days, we had the passion, we saw the passion of football from our parents. Our dads would be discussing football and they would be tuning into the radio to listen to a football match being broadcasted. And in Kenya, there were two major teams that were being touted as the who is who in football. And the first team in Kenya was AFC Leopards, and the second team was always going to be Gor Mahia. And of course, the tables have shifted. Right now it's the other way around. But those teams, the passion that the fans used to have for those teams was impeccable. The passion that you would hear my dad discussing with his friends, and they would even go to stadiums. And I remember after high school, I would sneak into City Stadium in Nairobi and I would watch FC Leopards playing. It was something. But let me tell you, it's not just something that is on the surface. It is something that is deep within. There's something interesting about sports, and there's something that you can be able to draw out of it in life. Did you know how much a footballer earns? A simple footballer, one who doesn't play in week out and week in and week out, earns something close to 10,000 pounds in sterling pounds every single week. I'm talking 10,000 sterling pounds every single week, plus there's some add-ons and bonuses and all those things. That is just the barest of the minimums. The highest paid people normally earn in hundreds of thousands of pounds per week. Why is that? It is because there is something intangible about life, which is simply passion that connects people. See, money follows passion. Money, resources, they do follow. Where your passion is, that is where your money is. That's why a team, football can have a stadium filled with people, 60,000 people every single weekend, and they are paying, each person is paying I don't know how many pounds. Why do they do that? And when they are beaten, the next week they are still in there. Why do they do that? It is because they are passionate about it. My story is a bit different. Like I was sharing with you, I got to know about football as I was growing up because I saw the passion of football in my parents. And of course, football was one of those sports that we would participate in. And every time you will see a football bouncing, as a child, something just resonates inside of you. Something just happens inside of your spirit and you want to go and kick it. You see, and then people join in and you want to create a team and you want to compete. Competition starts from there. You want to know who is the best and so on, and then in so doing talents are developed and so on and so forth. Of course, my talent in football was pathetic. When we were playing football, every single minute, every single time, there will be a group of guys, seated up at a place, a group of teenagers seated at a place, and then they say, let's go and play football, and then they select two captains, and also two captains choose one person after another from the congregation, and I'm one of them in the team, and your name is seldom mentioned. When your name is seldom mentioned, you just know, you guy, I suck, I'm not good at this, and almost always I'll be the last guy to be picked. And in fact, you are not picked, you just gravitate towards the team that you think you like, because nobody wanted you anyway in the first place. And then we play football and so on, and then we see talent, we see how people are passionate about it and so on and so forth. And so when I grew up and I was in high school, we started watching football on television. Believe me, we didn't have television in our home. Listen, I grew up in the village. Don't think I am a guy who was born in the city and so on. I grew up in the village nearly half of my life, and we didn't have television. In fact, I didn't know how television looked like, didn't know how a TV looked like. And anyway, so we started watching TV, and those are the days that the Premiership, the English Premiership, used to be aired on free-to-air channels, these analog channels, every single weekend. And so it was so easy to have access to that. And so you will see these top English club performers doing wonders with football. And of course, our TV, the one that I got access to, was my uncle's TV. Huge Sony TV, but was black. So I didn't know the colors of the teams anyway, and so I will see the teams playing, and of course every time, even up to today, every time there's I don't know how it works, but every time you sit before a TV, even if you do not know the teams that are playing and which country they are playing, you observe them for maybe like a 1 minute or so, and automatically you pick a team that you want to win, you pick a team that you want to support. And so I will see sports teams, I will see English teams, and I chose Manchester United. For some reason, I chose Manchester United because probably the kind of game they were playing was good and so on. I started favoring them. I started, following guys like Ryan Giggs. Those were guys when Ryan Giggs was a teenager. Yeah, I'm an old guy. I'm a fossil anyway. Ryan Giggs was there. Eric Cantona was there. David Beckham was there. Teddy Sheringham was there. Edwin van der Sar was there. Those were my guys, you see, when every time Paul Ince was there, and Andy Cole was there was Dwight York. Manchester United fans will be patting me on the back right now. And so I started supporting them. But along the line, there's this thing that I got to know. There was this African Nations Cup that was happening every 2 years, I think. African countries will be meeting and they will be playing football and so on. And then there was World Cup that was being played every after 4 years, World Cup in football. And one thing happened that piqued our imaginations when these two African countries did us proud. The first country was, of course, Cameroon, who went very far in that competition, and they did wonders, beating teams like Argentina and so on. And then the guys that picked up the mantle from that was the Nigerians, the Nigerian football team. If you talk of JJ Okocha, if you talk of Rashidi Yekini, if you talk of this Peter Rufai, if you talk of JJ Okocha, Sunday Olise, if you talk of Daniel Amokachi, if you talk about all those were football legends in Nigeria. And then you talk about Nwankwo Kanu. We watched those people, and when they got beaten in the World Cup, we will, our hearts will be broken and so on. And so something happened that this Nigerian team went and they played in the Olympics football team, and the Olympics competition, and they bet Brazil, and they got the gold medal. I think I was still in high school, just about to finish high school. It pricked our imaginations. We were ecstatic as Africans, and we were so celebratory, we were so joyous, and immediately we fell in love with those African stars. I remember having photo posters of those guys in my room and my house, small house. I would paste them. I would chew bubblegum and use bubblegum and paste those guys on the wall and so on. And so you will see Rashidi Yekini on my wall. You will see Nwankwo Kanu. And then something happened to Nwankwo Kanu. Nwankwo Kanu, either he went through a heart surgery, he was playing for a European country, a European club. He went for either heart surgery or head surgery, I cannot remember. And then when he did that, of course our hearts were, we were with him, and we wanted the best for him. We didn't know if he was going to play football ever again. And then something happened. He recovered, and after recovering, the thing that really turned my life around in terms of a football fan was when the manager at Arsenal decided to sign on Kanu Nwankwo. Lord Almighty, I immediately fell in love with Arsenal. I didn't know very many players at Arsenal at that particular moment in time, but it was so easy to switch my allegiance from Manchester United to Arsenal. And Arsenal became my team. I fell in love with the way they organized themselves, the way they played football, the way they overcomplicated things, and the way they wanted to always score that perfect goal. They became my people, and I started watching these guys on colored TV, and the moment I see an Arsenal shirt, something just happens within me. I mean, it just stands, and maybe that's the same thing that happens with other football fans, but for me, whenever I see an Arsenal shirt, Lord Almighty, it's just something different that happens. But the connecting point was what? The connecting point was when Kanu Nwankwo was signed by Arsene Wenger to join Arsenal. That is the point that I was connected to that team. And I can tell you, very many people have very many stories on how they got connected to their respective football teams. But when push comes to shove, it goes down to one thing. It boils down to one thing. It boils down to values. Probably for me, the value that I really espouse, or that I still espouse even up to today, is the value of caring for other people. The value of giving people second chances, the value of lifting up the ones who are down, the value of helping those guys who are considered forsaken and those guys who are dumped. Probably that is why I got connected to those people. And then I started learning the philosophies behind Arsene Wenger's ways of coaching and so on, grooming up young players, giving people chances and so on. It became like an obsession for me. And be it as it may, I have very many times tried to ditch that football club. I have tried as many times as possible. Why have I tried many times as possible to ditch Arsenal? Because we've been suffering. Year in, year out, season in, season out, we are beaten. We perform mediocre. Even when we're supposed to win, we don't win. Even when we're winning 4 goals, and then the opposition just scores 1 goal, we know our house of cards is going to crumble, and indeed it does crumble. 4-0 at halftime. When it's at the end of the day, full time, it's 4-4. We've lost 5-4. I mean, crazy stuff. And every time it happens, it breaks your heart, and you want to ditch those guys. You want to support when you see Manchester City performing top notch. You want to be identified with them. And as much as you try to switch horses, as much as you try to bet on, I'm not talking about betting, but as much as you try to support and be identified inside of your heart with another team, it is next to an impossibility. It is like impossible. I have never heard of a football fan who has ditched their football team, and they have gone to support another. The best I have had are those ones who have become apathetic, they have become tired, and they just stay away from the team altogether. They don't have the guts, or they don't have the oomph or the energy of that internal resource to be able to move them to support another team. It is very interesting. So every time Arsenal is playing in the past 3 years or so, as an Arsenal fan, we are simply a nervous wreck. At least let me speak for myself. It makes no difference whether we're winning, but you've got to wait until the full-time whistle is blown, and that's when you can heave a sigh of relief. Very many times we've had our hearts broken by that team, but we have failed to stop supporting them. What is there to learn? What do you call that phenomenon? Is that commitment? Is it attachment? Is it love? Is it passion? What is that? What is that thing that makes us so dedicated? Why is it that our wives find it so hard for us to be totally dedicated to them, like we are dedicated to a football team? And I'm speaking for a very great majority, a very great percentage of men. I have always wondered why the same fans who are single-minded, who are committed, who are supporting their team, whether it rains or it shines, whether it wins or it draws or it loses. Why is it that when they are supporting their team through heartbreaks, they will vacillate? the same people, they will vacillate, they will move from one opinion to another when it comes to matters, things of eternal value, when it comes to things of purpose, when it comes to things that matter to life. Why would a supporter be so committed to a team but become wishy-washy about their dreams? If they have dreams to begin with, why would a fan be so passionate about Arsenal and at the same time not committed to his marriage, his career, his family, his goals, his ideas? Why would they be so attached to, like a tick to a cow, to their team and keep changing their word without a thought? Why does that happen to us? You see, I think it boils down to one thing. And that one thing is none other than what I have alluded to earlier on, values. Why did I end up supporting Arsenal? I think because I resonated inside of me with the values. And I'm not talking about these superficial values, integrity, commitment, professionalism. No, I'm talking about at the heart level. What do you espouse? What do you resonate with? I resonated that time with care. I resonated with second chance. I resonated with humanity. I resonated with, giving people consideration. I resonated with picking up those ones who have been dumped out of life. And probably it's because myself also have felt dumped out in life very many times, like I don't belong and so on. And so I'm always looking out for the underdog. I'm always looking out to give a chance to those ones who have been counted out. And that's part of my package internally. That's part of my spirit. That's part of my heart inside of me. And so we need to learn that is the same thing. And maybe it's the same thing for every football fan out there. Maybe you can tell us your story. Why is it that you are I've never understood why you will be a Chelsea supporter. Why you will be a Chelsea fan. I mean, why? Honestly, it doesn't make sense to me at all. Why will you be a Manchester United supporter? Probably maybe the value of success, and everyone wants to identify with success. But why would you be a Manchester City fan? Honestly, why will you become a Tottenham fan? Why will you become an Everton fan? Why will you be their supporter? I would understand an Evertonian, someone who stays in Everton. Okay, I would understand them if they become a fan because it's homegrown and so on. But I'm talking about those of us who don't even live in that country. Maybe I've never even hopped onto a plane outside, but we watch these guys on television. Why are we their supporters? I think we need to identify what our values are from the football teams that we are supporting. And now this is where the rubber meets the road. How can you be able to be successful in life with this message of passion, this message of total commitment, regardless, unswerving commitment, like anchored commitment? See, if you picked up and copied and pasted that kind of commitment you have for Arsenal or for Manchester United or for Everton or for Sunderland or for any other team out there, and you committed yourself to the same thing, to your success, to your pursuits in life, to the things that you want to do, things that matter, things that make a difference, things that create income, things that change people's lives, things that create an influence in life. If you could just transport that commitment to one of those things, I don't know what it is. Probably it's something you're passionate about in education. Probably it's something about media. Probably it's something about religion. Probably it's something about the family. Probably it's something about business. Probably it's something about the girl child, maybe the boy child. Probably it's about widows. Probably it's about orphans. Probably it's about the cancer patients. Probably it's something to do with the economy. Maybe it's something to do with innovation and creativity. Maybe it's something to do with music and piano. Maybe it's something to do with housing. Maybe it's something to do with home life. Maybe it's something to do with photography. Maybe it's something to do with writing, singing. It's something to do with speaking. Maybe it is something to do with inspiring other people. I don't know what it is, but if you put your commitment the same way you're committed to your team, to your football team, believe me, I think you're going to go to places unseen before. And I think the following 3 things, even as I come to a close, will be important for us to note. Number 1, I think you find out what your values are. What do you cherish in terms of your life? You see, in marriage, you find out if you wanted your marriage to last. You find out before what is his value, what are her values. If you share this, you increase the level of commitment. Commitment comes when there is a shared value. Let me tell you, if there is no shared value outside of the obvious gains, let me tell you this. When you're looking at values, you're not necessarily looking at what you're gaining, what you're profiting out of it. For example, when you're looking for employment, your commitment is not going to be directly proportional to the amount of money you receive. Your commitment is going to be directly proportional to the values that either you espouse or they espouse, or values that you share, things that resonate within you deeply. We need to find that true north in our lives. And guess what? It is there. The problem is we don't take time to sit down and find it. It is already, we came with it. We don't learn this thing. We were wired the same way we had a drop of blood in our spirits when we were in our hearts, in our bodies when we were born. It is the same way we have values when we were born. We are not born with a blank slate for something. When it comes to intellect, probably we were born with a blank slate. Having knowledge, acquiring knowledge and experience, probably we're born with a blank slate. But when it comes to values, no, we do have our own values that we cherish, and we need to find those. And anything we commit to in life, it is going to have a long commitment because of the values that we have downloaded. If there is a clash in values, it becomes so easy to abandon a commitment for another cause. For example, Arsenal, I think so much. I cherish the ideas of comebacks so much. In fact, so much to the degree that I have written a book called Turn Your Setbacks into Major Comebacks, which you can find on Amazon. That is how that value is inside of me. I love the underdog. I love the guy who has been thrown out. I love the guy who has not been given a chance, because I was one of those people. I've always been one of those people, and I've always come on top. And that's what Arsenal did for Nwankwo Kanu, and that's why it's difficult for me to dump those people. It's difficult for me to stop supporting Arsenal. And then number 2, what you need to learn is that when you've selected something that you want to do and your values are matching, the second thing you need to learn is that things in life will not always be smooth. Your heart might be broken once or twice. Don't expect everything to go smoothly. Your heart will be broken. You'll be disappointed. There will be disillusionment. Remain steadfast. Because nothing, I know I've said on this channel, like a broken record, that the safest or the quickest way from point A to point B is a straight line, but life and nature abhor a straight line. And so I know that will be the ideal thing that you'll be looking for in life. But let me tell you this, you should anticipate some down spirals. You should anticipate some down times. You should anticipate some disappointments, some backlashes, some disagreements, some lackadaisical performances. You should anticipate some letdowns in life, even when you've already selected your true north. The fact that you've already known what your true north is does not necessarily translate to success. You're going to trudge against opposition. You're going to trudge against gravity itself. You're going to trudge against your own heart, your own flesh, your own blood, your own body, wanting you to rest instead of working. Just because things are going south at the moment today, just because Arsenal is no longer considered a big contender, does not necessarily mean that it's done and it's never going to win another championship. I do not know about tomorrow. The same thing with your idea, the same thing with your business, same thing with your music, the same thing with your photography, the same thing with your business, the same thing with your ideas, the same thing with your projects, the same thing with your family, the same thing with your marriage. Just because things are going south today does not necessarily mean that is the destiny. Does not mean that you jump out of it. And I need to be very careful, because at some instances there's some things that you really need to jump out of. But those are always exceptions. They are not the norm. The norm is that all of us are going to face opposition, face backlashes, face failure, face setbacks, face downtimes, face disagreements, face every negative thing that is against our progression. What do? Do we stop supporting our own? No, we continue. We put one foot in front of the other, and we continue supporting, just like an Arsenal fan or a Manchester United fan. I have very many friends who are supporting Manchester United, and they're always making jokes and fun against me, and I do the same. But I've never seen any one of them, even in their downtime, I've never seen them stopping to support their favorite team. So why will you stop supporting your dream? Why will you stop supporting your marriage? Why will you stop supporting your pursuits? Why will you stop supporting your spirituality? Why will you stop supporting your idea and your projects and your business and your book and your inspiration and your singing and your music and your talent and your guitar? Why will you stop supporting your photography and all these things that you were passionate about years ago? Why did you dump them? And you're still supporting a football team. If you are at least supporting a football team, you can support on a daily basis your idea, your dream, your calling, your vision, and your passion. The last thing about that we can be able to learn about this is that for you to be successful, you need to stake your investment inside of it. Jesus Christ said, where your heart is, that is where your treasure will be. In other words, if you've not put anything in it, your heart is not going to be there. What did I put in Arsenal? That I keep going back there over and over again. It's a spiritual transaction that happened when my values with them coincided, and that's where my treasure is. Unless I change my values, I cannot change my support. I cannot change my team. I cannot change what I support or what I'm about. I cannot change my sports. I cannot change the leopard cannot change its sports. See, once those values are there. But you see, I'm talking about an investment. You know, where your heart is, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. You've never really given a hoot about a particular company until you invested your hard-earned dollars into that company. All of a sudden, you want to know who the CEO who the CEO of that company is. You want to know the returns at the end of the quarter. You want to know how much they made, and so on and so forth. You are not going to support them until your heart has been put in there. And your heart is put in there sometimes when you put your substance in there. So invest in your marriage. Invest in your projects, invest in your podcast, invest in your writing every single working day. Put some heart there, some resource there, some time there. Put some substance in whatever it is that you want to be successful every working day. That is the only way that you're going to attract the success, the kind of success that you want. Invest in your children, invest in your marriage. Let your heart be there. See, when you do, your heart will have no problem sticking there and staying there. When you invest in anything, in your marriage, in your projects, for example, when it comes to this podcast channel, I cannot bench it. My heart is already gone. My heart is already in here. And every time I hear people telling me how it's been blessing them and so on, it's over, man. I cannot stop. Every moment I have an opportunity, I have to come and do an inspiration or a motivation on this channel. So I was talking about today what we can be able to learn from sports fans, and it's quite a chunk. And I hope this makes sense to you. Number one, identify what your values in life are. What is the core value of your life, which is basically your calling and your purpose. And then number two, don't be naive. Expect some challenges, expect some setbacks, because the world is a fallen black world and nature abhor a straight line. And then number three, put some investment. This 3 things, these simple 3 things, if you do this for anything in your life, I will guarantee you, and if you continue becoming a fan, like a sports fan, I'm an Arsenal fan for decades and I don't see it changing, okay, because I'm already invested. You will become a successful person in whatever thing that you're pursuing. I hope this makes sense to you today. And I've got to stop. So thank you for listening, and bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.